How we doing today, guys? We have an interesting video today. We have a very interesting video. So I'm going to go back to this post that I made because I really like posts like this because it offers an opportunity to get advice, to give advice. I think the best thing for this channel is to talk about stuff that creators really go through. I think that's the best way I can do some good. It's a great way to people to tune in. It's just advantageous for everybody to talk and let's all try to get better, right? So, what's the hardest part about writing? Feel free to elaborate in the comments. Good faith responses only. And thank God that Twitter listened because they usually do not. So, finding time was 22.4%. More than world building and more than dialogue. This is an interesting one. So, you know what we're about on this channel. Me as a person. We're going to be genuine, right? There's a lot of great advice that I've gotten recently that I fucking hated hearing. I heard this shit and it made me feel uneasy. It felt like there was a pit in my stomach. But afterwards, when I considered who was telling me and how much I value and respect them and how much they want to get me better, I thought about it. And oftentimes I came to the conclusion that this person gave me good advice, you know? And you don't have to follow great advice, but at least have it up here, right? At least be aware of the good advice. You know what I'm saying? Be aware of the good advice. You know, maybe you can compromise. Be aware of what people are saying. You can't break the rules if you don't know the rules, so to speak. So, this is I'm gonna come off a little harsh. I'm gonna come off very harsh, and I really don't mean to, but we gotta do it. We gotta do it, man. There is no such thing as not having time to write. I don't believe you if you say you can't find time to write. I don't think you're lying. I think you're perceiving it. You're telling me what you perceive to be the truth, but I don't believe you. I have a very hard time believing that every waking moment you are busy. And if you're busy every waking moment, you certainly don't have time to vote on a Twitter poll of a, middling, I'm not at the bottom of the totem pole, but I'm not the top. If you have time to respond to my shit, you definitely have time to write. So I want to talk about a phrase I use. I talk about loser's mentality. Loser's mentality. What do I mean by that? That means that you are coming from a pessimistic standpoint. You are coming from a standpoint that is avoiding to fail as opposed to trying to win. Right? You're thinking like a loser. It doesn't make you a loser. Nobody's a loser. You fucking kidding me? You're trying. That's good enough. That doesn't make you a loser. But maybe you might have to retool your thinking. Right? So, some of my favorite people that I look up to aren't writers. They're athletes. Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, these kind of guys. These guys, the reason they became great is that nothing could stop them from trying to improve. Nothing could get in their way from trying to improve. And we're talking about something that requires a lot of physicality, right? At the very least, it would require a ball to you might think, right? Here's my take. If you have time to think, you have time to write. If you have time to think, you have time to write. If you are so strapped for time, for every waking moment, you are engaged in something. At some point, your mind should wander. And when your mind wanders, you should train yourself to think about your stories. So that once every a blue moon, you get an opportunity to write, there you go. Boom. You can hit the ground running. We are addicted to smartphones. We are addicted to the internet. You're telling me you don't have one of these? You don't have a smartphone? Because there are a lot of screenwriting apps on a smartphone, right? So I'm gonna go down to Screen Time, which is an app for iPhone that tells you how long you've been on your phone. I'm on my phone for an average of 7.5 hours a day. What the fuck? I'm pretty sure this is because of Twitter Spaces. I am so sure. I am so sure this is all Twitter Spaces. There's no way, bro. That is insane. Yeah, 8 hours social media. It's predominantly Twitter Spaces. But let's say it said 2. I don't know what the fuck is normal. Let's say it said 2 hours. That if I'm on social media, I'm browsing through, that could be time I could be writing, right? If you want it bad enough, there's your time. If you're constantly thinking, you're constantly putting the story together, once you hit that pen and pad, you can write down a lot. You know, once you can get your notes, you can get a lot of work done in 5 minutes in bunches, right? I got something else. Pen, fucking Christ, pad and pen. You know what I'm saying? Shit costs like $1. Shit costs $1. You write this down. This is how people used to do it. You telling me you can't have? You can even have one of the mini pens and pads that fit in your pocket. When I used to work labor, I would ride in the truck for, I don't know, bro, like 3 or 4 hours a day. If I had an idea, I was writing it. If you're riding in a car, that's the time you could be writing, right? If you have a pen, you have an iPhone, you have an iPhone, just a normal smartphone, you'll be able to do that. Let's talk about outlines. What is an outline? An outline is essentially shorthand for a story, right? You're breaking down your story to bullet points. The act of writing that down does not take a long time. The act of actually typing up a outline does not take that long. The physical part of it. You know, if you get you can rearrange it, you can look at it, you can outline, you know, it's like line it up, see the plot points, all that stuff. It doesn't take a long time. Hey, if you got a phone, it's probably a voice recording app. You're riding in the car, you're a delivery guy or something like that, you can just talk into your phone. Maybe that's not the safest thing. I don't know. Theoretically, you could talk. I mean, it's just, theoretically, don't, operate a phone in a truck. All right, that was a little stupid. But you do have the ability to talk into your phone and record something that you can use later. That could be a form of writing. You don't have to physically be writing and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? When I go to bed, whatever story I'm most focused on, I play that story in my head while I'm sleeping. Like while I'm drifting off, I'm just thinking about it. And it's really cool because when you're kind of going out of consciousness, your brain is it's kind of free flow. It kind of does funky things when you're half awake, trying to go to sleep. It does. You come up with certain things you might not have thought if you were fully conscious. Just the way. You telling me you don't sleep? You don't sleep? You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody got to sleep. Shit. So, I don't think this is true. And if it takes you what might people actually mean? What might people actually mean? If you're too stressed to write, if that's what they mean, there's not a time in your day where you're not stressed out, and that's prohibiting you from writing. You meditate. There's ways to release stress, stuff like that. There's things you can do about that. Essentially, it comes down to how bad do you want it? How bad do you need to write? Because if we need to do something, we'll find time to do it. That's what I found. People will always find time for stuff that they care about. And that's the thing. If you truly have zero time in the day, when you go to sleep, you go slam to sleep. You shut your eyes instantly. You wake up. You don't have a moment to think. There's nothing you can do about that. That equates to changing your lifestyle, which is a lot harder. But if you mean other things, right? If you look at a page and you stare at a page for a bunch of hours, you know what I'm saying? That's the writer block. We can fix that. We can work on that. Maybe you prefer to write in chunks. You prefer to write and sit down at the computer for 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. Okay. Then in the alternate is be on your phone for 15 minutes at a time. Guess what? You have time to write. It's just not optimal for you, which is two different things, right? It's two completely different things. So that said, do what you got to do, because there's a lot of good reasons why you can't make the thing. I'm not trying to be dismissive, but ultimately you have to make the thing for it to exist. It's not going to pop into thin air. So we really have to find ways to optimize our process to fit our situations. I would define a great artist as somebody who is malleable and best uses their resources. So keep that in mind, everybody. However you voted on this, however you voted on this thing, let's keep that in mind, that we need to be malleable, right? And we need to use our resources effectively. Because if you do that, you cannot be stopped. Thank you so much. Thank you again for 100 subs. Like and share, please. I'm trying to grow this channel so I can buy a new laptop. All right. Send it around. It's helpful. It's good for you. Let's keep getting better, guys. Thank you.